Morning everybody, it's Wendy here from Little Nest Crafts. Thank you for joining me today. This video I'm going to be bringing you another design team project for Suzanne over at Non-Stop Paper Crafts, who has brought out this beautiful So Pink digital kit, and she's also released 3 freebies if you go over to her Facebook page that complement this kit, and she offers up a challenge with each of those freebies. And this week's challenge, she made a lady's dress out of some of the papers used in this kit. So what I thought I would do is I would complement the lady's dress, and I would make a little man's shirt and tie. And this threw me right back to my card making days when I used to make these for to put on the front of greetings card and such like. But you don't only have to make ladies dresses and men's shirts from the kit. You can make lovely things like this little pouch and the little journal inside. And if you want to see how to put those together, if you look at my previous 2 videos, then you will you'll be able to follow along if you're interested in making one of these for yourself. And if not, this is available over in my Ko-fi shop. So as I say, this is Suzanne's kit. It's got lots of background pages, lots of ephemera, pockets, and it consists of 36 pages plus the extras that Suzanne has released over on her Facebook page and in her Ko-fi shop. So let me show you the little shirt in question. So I'll just move that out of the way so we can get our working space and make sure that I'm in shot. And do forgive me if I go a bit, I tend to creep down to the bottom of the camera shot because my camera setup is in an awkward position and I can't alter it, unfortunately. So this is the little shirt in question, and I've used this print from Suzanne's kit. And what I've done is I've printed 2 to a page because I don't want a shirt that's made out of a whole A4 size paper. So you can make these as large and as small as you like. So this is made from half an A4 size, but you could actually, which is this, but you could actually cut that in half and make it out of this, so you'd get even more a smaller shirt. So then you would be able to use them as little decorative elements, as little ephemera pieces, maybe to put on the side of a page, on top of a ruffle, etc. So, or as a dangle, there's lots of opportunities to do them. And you could even make them a smaller, using a quarter of a size of that sheet. But then, just to warn you, because it's origami, you do have to be quite precise and try not to use too thick a paper, because obviously you're trying to fold, and sometimes you've got lots of folds on top of one another, so it makes it quite thick. And so you need to have a reasonable dexterity to try and get it smaller and smaller. So I'll just warn you there. And if you've got arthritic fingers like me, then you want it fairly simple. So as I say, I've just done half an A4 size sheet. And so what I will do, I'll show you how to make this one. And it's really simple. I'll just move that tie out of the way. So this is my paper, and I'll go reasonably slowly, so that you can follow up. Now this paper's directional in all ways because the writing is different, it's laid out differently, so do be careful if you've got print that is one way up, because you don't want it to be upside down on your finished project. But this piece here is great for making this little shirt because it doesn't really matter which way up it goes. So you start off by, oh, and what I've done is I've just done a coffee dyed print on the inside rather than have it stark white, and I thought the coffee dyed complemented that piece, and it complemented that piece as well. So all you do is you fold your paper in half, and I have switched my thing on, yeah. So try and get your corners in perfectly if you can. And here's me telling everybody to be perfect, and I'm having trouble already. So let's have a look. It might be that my paper's not actually cut straight because I cut it by hand. So 1 second. So what I've done is I've trimmed off the wobbly bits with my guillotine, and it, you know, I didn't do too badly cutting it by hand, and but it did affect me getting my corners together. So I've trimmed the bottom, trimmed the top, and I've trimmed the length just to make sure that it's perfectly straight. So I'll just put my guillotine to one side, and then having folded it in half, it's very similar to the dress that Suzanne made, where you take your oblong paper and you fold in your middle sections, your outer sections into the middle, should I say. So I do the same as Suzanne, where I roll the paper a little bit and hold it down and push them into the middle, and then when you look, as you can see, it's right in the center of the paper. So we do again with the other side by rolling it inwards and then popping your finger on and just carefully push the paper out, and there we go. And then what I'm going to do is just reinforce those folds with my bone folder. Get rid of that piece of paper. So there we go. So now what we do is we take this point and we want to come as close as we can to this corner and bring your paper outwards and then crease it down. And the same on this side. Get hold of your point, and I tend to keep my finger on there and use that as a guide, and carefully looking at this top point here too, because you want to come as close as you can to that. There we go. And to get down as close as you can to that edge there, and then score. And I'll use my bone folder again, and that's the second process. So basically all you've done is, I'll recap, you've folded your paper in half, you've brought in the side edges, and then you've taken each of your points, each of the corners here, out to form like a collar on this edge. But then what you want to do is flip your paper over now. Yeah, flip your paper over, and then what you want to do is bring up the bottom, and roughly about, I would say, 1/2 inch. I'm not going to measure because it, you know, it's not important really, but you don't want it to go half to the page. It's just a small fold over at the bottom. And then once you've done that, you turn your paper over, put in the collar bit, or these sticky out bits at the bottom, to the bottom of your page. And then you want to do the same here, is fold down. 1 second. And what you're going to be trying to do is make your collar. So you're going to be trying to pull those two edges upwards, and so that they're both roughly the same. You might have to, but not coming right to the middle, leaving a small gap, and then score that down again with your bone folder. So I'll recap. You've folded up the bottom, you've turned your paper over, and then you're bringing these two points to meet at roughly the same level there, and then scoring. Okay. And then once you've scored those so that they're nice and crisp, you bring up the bottom, this part, and all you do is you bring it under the collar, and then you score the bottom there, and that is your little shirt made. So that looks great, doesn't it? I like the way it's got buy ready set Butterick sewing on the front there, and that's what it's like on the back, so nice and neat on the back. And it's great to pop in a journal page, and if you reinforce these parts, you could use it as a little tuck spot, or even an up tuck at the bottom as well, and glue it down to a page. So that's the little shirt made. So now we're going to go on to the tie. And what I've done here is I've cut myself a little square, and this is roughly, let's have a look, 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres squared. And same again, you just fold your paper in half diagonally, and then you get your score line, and working so that the back is facing you, you bring in these two sides to form like as if you were making a little kite, and score those pieces well. And then with the right side facing you, fold down and score, and you know, fold down. You want a reasonable size piece. If I put that on the score line there, it's what, let's have a look how much I've folded it down, roughly about 3.5 centimetres. So I folded that down, and then turn it over, and you want to take this point almost up to the top, or mine is actually at the top, and keeping it central, so because that makes it important, you know, for this, for work, you know, for the actual knot around the neck of your tie. And then what you want to do is flip over. Hi everybody, I'm back, and I do apologise. I finished my I thought I'd finished my video, and because I'd completed the project and said goodbye to you all, and I downloaded the video from my phone onto my laptop, and then into my editing program, and for some reason the video had stopped recording. So I'm going to try and replay the sections that, the end part of the video that was missing. And so because I actually finished these little shirts and I glued the ties in, I've had to print some more paper and make another tie, but I've made it a bit smaller this time by making it 3.5 inch square instead of a 4 inch or 10 centimetre square. So what I will do, I'll recap on how to make the tie. And what you do, as I say, you make, as long as your paper is squared when you start off, and you fold it in half diagonally, like so. So you've got a triangle piece. Then you open it out so that the front is downwards, and you make yourself a little kite by folding in the two sides to meet at a point at one end, and then you score down. And then what you want to do then is turn your paper over and bend the point forward, making sure that the tip of this point is in line with your centre fold, and then you crease like that. And then you want to fold a little way up again, and I do it so that the point is touching the top of that fold there, and then score down. So you've got the main body of the tie, and this piece makes the knot that goes underneath the collar. So then you want to turn your paper over, and then you want to tuck these side pieces into the middle, and you'll get a little fold here, a little triangle folded part of the paper. But as long as this piece, this edge, is following your centre line, you'll be okay, your centre fold line. And then score, and then same again, bring those edges in so that they meet in the middle, and that gives you your tie shape when you fold over. Now what you've got to do is get rid of this little bit. So what I do is I opened it out, and then where you've got the second score line, where you've got the original score line that you made, sorry, fold along that score line and then tuck those side edges in, and then that way you get a nice neat little knot, and then this part can tuck down the back. And you can either fold it upwards, or I just use that to glue it down with. So I'll put a bit of glue on there. And then that will hold your little tie down. And there we go. And I'm going to do the same again with this one, leave this one broad, and I'm going to tuck it in my little shirt there. There we go. And then that'll lie nice and flat down there. Okay. You can ink around the edges if you wish, just to make a bit more definition. And as I said before, it does make a lovely addition to a little journal, you know, especially a sewing themed journal, you know, when you're doing dressmaking and the like. And yeah, so there's our little shirt and tie, and I made the dress following Suzanne's instructions on her video. So if you go over to her YouTube page on Non-Stop Paper Crafts and look at Suzanne's latest video, you'll see how to make this lovely little dress. And I think they complement one another. But personally, I think what I would do is take my half of my A4 sheet, and I think I would cut it down again and make an even smaller one to go with that. So just bear with, and I might actually do that because they're nice quick projects, and we'll compare what the tiny one looks like with Suzanne's project. So here we go, I've cut my paper down, so I'm just going to move those two little shirts to one side and the dress, and we'll do the same again as we did before. So this is making it even smaller. So fold down your centre, bring your side edges in, fold over, tuck them in as far as they will go, press down and score. Just make sure they're nicely in, yep. And same the other side, bring down your side edges, roll over, tuck them in and score. Oops. There we go. So then we want to, let's have a look. Now then, if that's going to be tucked up, that will actually be upside down. So I'm going to do this side for now. And then, hang on one second, let me get my grain into gear. If that was the collar edge, so we want this to be the collar edge. Either way, I think it's going to be upside down, but not to worry, not to worry. So yeah, we'll fold that down outwards. Let me just make sure. I fold that out there, and that out there, and that comes up like so, yeah. So we're going to fold this out here, bringing that almost to the edge. Same again with this side. And I'm just marking with my finger, pulling that out just a tad more, so that they're roughly the same. And then we're going to fold this piece over, tuck that one down, and then we're going to bring this round here. Oops, making sure the point kind of tucks in towards the centre, but not quite to the centre. And the same with this one, pulling it up, maybe like that. That one could do with coming a tad round a bit more, I think. That's better. So we'll give that a good burnish there and there, and then we're going to fold that over and bring this side up and tuck that in there, and there you have it. A little, oops, let me tuck that underneath the collar there. Doesn't quite want to play the game. There we go. That's it. So we shall smush that down with our bow folder. Make sure everything's nice and flat. And I think you can see that that size would be more appropriate for one that you've done, you know, half a A4 size sheet, and then you know, they're nice little additions to a journal. But I think these are great as well. So I do hope you like that little project. I haven't done the tie on there because I don't really want to oh, I'll tell you what I will do. I realised I've got this little scrap here, and this piece is 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. So let's have a look and see if we can make a little tie to go on that little shirt there. So same as we did before, score it down the diagonal, open it out, fold into your centre line, trying to keep a nice point at the bottom, and do that on both sides if I can. Try not to overlap. There we go. And then fold over, bring your point down, keeping it on the centre line, and smush it to get a nice crisp fold. Pop this piece up to the middle there, same again, smush that down, and then what we need to do is come over the back, and we need to bring this round, similar to what you did on the shirt, and bring those 2 edges in to the centre. Bring that one round to match the other one into the centre. That one's not quite there, I don't think. There we go. And then I open it out, and let's have a look. And then fold that up to there, to your score line, fold those back, fold that one back there, and then fold that over the top and give it a good burnish. And we'll have a look and see if that will fit nicely into our little shirt there. And there we go, there we have it. Little Bobby Dazzler of a shirt and tie. I think if I'd have come in a little bit more, let's have a look, with those side edges, it would stay in a little bit more. So just bring them in just a fraction. There we go. Tuck them back in like so, and then our little tie will sit. They're not quite level. Sorry about this, everybody. That's better. Let me just use my bone folder. Yeah, that's better. It's nice when things are even. There we go. Smooth the sides down and then pop our little, there we go, and I'll put some glue on that and we'll glue that into place and put that in my little, put that little addition in my little folio journal that I made. Okay everybody, I hope that you like those, and do go over to Suzanne's page as well to have a look how she made this lovely dress, and give us some support, and thank you for all your support towards me as well. I do hope that you'll join me in my next video, my next project. I'm not sure what that's going to be as yet, but there's lots in the pipeline behind the scenes with collaborations coming up, etc. And I'm still working on a couple of journals behind the scenes as well. So until next time everybody, stay safe and be kind to one another. I'll say bye for now. Bye.